What terrible events could happen after the drought? How might the villagers' lives be after such events? Let's find out. The Golden Feather Part 2. With a hopeful heart, she whispered, "I wish for rain to save our village." As soon as she spoke, the sky outside began to darken. Alara's heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. She watched as the once clear sky turned a deep, heavy gray. Clouds gathered, swirling and thickening, as if in response to her wish. The first few drops of rain fell slowly at first, then quickly turned into a steady downpour. The sound of rain hitting the roof was like music to Alara's ears. She rushed outside to feel the cool droplets on her face, her eyes wide with wonder. The village, too, was waking up to the miracle unfolding before them. People emerged from their homes, their faces lit with astonished joy as they felt the rain soak into the parched earth. The crops, once wilting and dry, began to revive. The land, which had been cracked and lifeless, started to absorb the much-needed moisture. Alara watched with a sense of relief and satisfaction as the village's fields began to turn green again, and the once dry streams started to flow. The villagers gathered in the town square, their faces bright with hope and gratitude. They cheered and celebrated, their spirits lifted by the sudden turn of events. The children danced in the rain, their laughter echoing through the village. For the first time in weeks, there was a sense of joy and renewal. Alara, though happy to see the change, remained quiet about the feather's role in the miracle. She knew that the village needed hope, not just for the moment, but for the future. Her parents and the other villagers noticed her quiet demeanor, but attributed it to her modesty. Alara was content to see the village flourishing once again. As days went by, Alara continued to use the golden feather for small but significant acts of kindness. Whenever a villager needed help, she would quietly make a wish. She wished for more food for the families struggling to make ends meet, for warmth for the elderly who shivered in the cold nights, and for comfort for those who were feeling down. Each time she used the feather, the effects were subtle yet powerful. The village's recovery continued, with crops growing plentifully and the people's spirits gradually improving. The sense of community strengthened, and the once distant villagers began to help each other more actively. Alara's acts of kindness did not go unnoticed. Though she never sought recognition, her selfless actions inspired others. People began to reach out to one another more, sharing their resources and offering support. The village slowly transformed from a place of despair to one of mutual aid and cooperation. Alara's humble use of the feather for the good of the community brought about a slow but steady improvement in the village's fortunes. Her quiet resolve and the magical feather's power worked hand in hand to bring relief to those in need. The village was gradually healing, not just from the drought, but also from the divisions that had emerged during the difficult times. As the golden feather continued to work its magic, Alara remained a symbol of hope and compassion. She knew that the village's revival was not just due to the feather, but also to the collective spirit of kindness that had been rekindled. She held on to this belief, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment as she saw her community come together and thrive once again. As the village began to recover from the drought, the impact of Alara's kindness became increasingly evident. The once barren fields were now lush and green, the streams flowed with clear water, and the villagers' spirits were lifted. However, despite the visible improvements, Alara knew there was still much work to be done. The golden feather had given the village a chance, but it was her continued acts of kindness that would help ensure lasting change. Alara used the feather discreetly but often, Whenever she saw someone in need, she would quietly make a wish for their benefit. One day, she noticed an elderly woman named Greta who was struggling to keep warm during the chilly nights. Greta had no family nearby and could not afford to buy enough firewood to keep her small cottage cozy. Ilara felt a pang of sympathy for the old woman, who looked frail and cold. That night, Ilara took out the golden feather and whispered, "I wish for warmth for Greta." The next morning, Greta was surprised to find a generous pile of firewood stacked neatly outside her cottage. She was overjoyed and puzzled, unable to figure out who had left the firewood, but deeply grateful. The warmth from the fire helped Greta feel more comfortable and less lonely, lifting her spirits significantly. Another time, Ilara came across a family with young children who were struggling to get enough food. The family had lost their crops to the drought and were living off meager rations. The children looked thin and hungry, their bright eyes dimmed by lack of nourishment. Ilara knew that a simple wish could make a big difference. She held the golden feather close and wished, "I wish for enough food for this family." Shortly after, a basket of fresh fruits and vegetables appeared at the family's door. The family was astonished and deeply thankful, their eyes filling with tears of relief and joy. The food not only satisfied their hunger, but also gave them hope and a renewed sense of possibility. Ilara also made sure to use the feather to help the village as a whole. She wished for better tools and supplies for the farmers, so they could repair their equipment and work more effectively in their newly revived fields. She wished for more resources for the village school, which had been struggling due to lack of funding. With each wish, the village became a better place, with stronger crops, improved infrastructure, and more opportunities for the children to learn and grow. Throughout all these acts of kindness, Ilara remained humble. She never sought praise or recognition, preferring to let her actions speak for themselves. Her selflessness inspired others to take part in the community's recovery. Neighbors began helping each other more frequently, sharing their resources and working together to rebuild what had been lost. The village's transformation was remarkable. Where there had once been desperation and struggle, there was now cooperation and hope. The villagers, inspired by Ilara's example, started organizing communal events to support one another. They held gatherings to discuss their needs, celebrate their successes, and strengthen their bonds. The spirit of kindness that Ilara had nurtured with the feather began to spread throughout the community. One day, as Ilara walked through the village, she was greeted with warm smiles and heartfelt thanks from the people she had helped. Although she preferred to remain in the background, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of satisfaction. The village had not only recovered from the drought, but had also grown stronger and more connected. The golden feather had worked its magic, but it was Ilara's unwavering kindness and dedication that had truly made a difference. Her actions had shown that even the smallest acts of compassion could have a profound impact on the lives of others. The village thrived, not just because of the magical rain or the improvements in their environment, but because the community had come together with a renewed sense of purpose and solidarity. As time went on, Ilara continued to live her life quietly, her heart full of the joy that came from helping others. The villagers often spoke of her with admiration, acknowledging the difference she had made without ever seeking anything in return. They understood that the real magic lay not in the feather, but in the kindness and generosity that Ilara had embodied. Ilara's story became a cherished part of the village's history, a reminder of the power of selflessness and the strength of community. The golden feather was eventually tucked away in a safe place, a symbol of the extraordinary kindness that had transformed their lives. But the lessons learned from Ilara's example lived on, guiding the village to continue helping and supporting each other for generations to come. The village had begun to thrive once more thanks to Ilara's continuous acts of kindness and the golden feather's magic. The fields were lush, the streams flowed freely, and the villagers' spirits were high. But amidst the renewed happiness, a new challenge emerged that would test Ilara's courage and the true power of the feather. One crisp autumn morning, the village awoke to an unsettling sight. A thick, dark smoke was rising from the western edge of the village. As the villagers gathered, it became clear that a large fire had broken out in the forest. The flames roared and crackled, quickly spreading toward the village. The once peaceful forest, which had been a source of beauty and resources, was now a raging inferno. The fire's fierce heat could be felt even from a distance. The villagers panicked, fearing for their homes and the safety of their loved ones. They scrambled to move their belongings and prepare for evacuation. The fire threatened to destroy everything they had worked so hard to rebuild. Ilara stood at the edge of the village, her heart pounding as she watched the flames draw closer. She knew that the villagers were not equipped to handle such a large fire. The forest fire was beyond their control, and without help, their homes and fields were at risk of being consumed by the flames. Desperate to find a solution, Ilara turned to the golden feather. She had never faced a challenge like this before, and was unsure if the feather could help. But she knew she had to try. With trembling hands, she took the feather out of its box and held it tightly. She thought of the village, the people she had come to love, and the homes that were now in danger. Ilara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I wish for a way to stop the fire and protect the village," she whispered, her voice full of determination. As soon as she spoke, the feather began to glow with a brilliant light. Ilara felt a surge of energy flow through her, and the air around her seemed to shimmer with magic. She opened her eyes to see the feather's light intensify, casting a warm golden glow over the village. The villagers watched in awe as the sky above the fire began to change. The once terrifying smoke was now being drawn upwards, swirling and twisting as if controlled by an unseen force. The flames, which had been raging fiercely, started to slow down and diminish. The fire seemed to lose its strength, as though the magic from the feather was battling it. Ilara's heart raced as she watched the incredible sight. The golden light continued to spread, creating a barrier between the fire and the village. The smoke cleared, and the flames were gradually extinguished. The forest, though still smoldering, was no longer a threat to the village. The villagers cheered and applauded as they saw the fire being brought under control. They were amazed and grateful, not understanding the full extent of the miracle they had witnessed, but recognizing the powerful intervention that had saved them. They looked at Ilara with a mixture of awe and gratitude, sensing that she had played a crucial role in the village's safety. Ilara, though relieved, was physically and emotionally drained. The effort of using the feather to stop the fire had taken its toll on her. She sat down on a nearby rock, her hand still holding the feather. The magical glow had dimmed, and the feather seemed to return to its normal state. The village council, along with other villagers, gathered around Ilara to thank her. They offered their heartfelt appreciation and expressed their amazement at the way the fire had been stopped. They realized that Ilara's kindness and the feather's magic had not only helped them recover from the drought, but had also saved them from the devastating fire. Ilara, though grateful for their thanks, remained humble. She knew that the feather's magic had played a significant role, but she also understood that it was her own determination and love for the village that had made the difference. She simply nodded and smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. As the days passed, the village began to heal from the fire's impact. The forest would take time to recover, but the homes and fields had been spared. The villagers worked together to restore what had been damaged and supported each other through the process. Ilara's bravery and the feather's magic had shown the village the true power of unity and kindness. The villagers learned that even in the face of great challenges, hope and compassion could bring about extraordinary results. They continued to celebrate their renewed sense of community and strength, forever grateful for the miracle that had saved them from disaster. Ilara's actions had not only protected her village, but had also reinforced the belief that true magic lay not just in the feather, but in the goodness and courage of those who used it. The village continued to thrive, inspired by the lessons learned and the example set by Alara, whose kindness and bravery had truly made a difference. With the fire extinguished and the village safe, life gradually returned to normal. The villagers were deeply grateful to Alara for her bravery and the miraculous help she had provided. They worked together to repair and restore what had been damaged, and their sense of unity grew stronger than ever. Alara, though exhausted from the effort, felt a profound sense of peace. The golden feather, which had played such a crucial role in saving the village, was now safely tucked away. The magic it had wielded had been remarkable, but Alara understood that its true power lay not just in the feather itself, but in the kindness and selflessness it had inspired. As time went on, the village continued to flourish. The fields remained fertile, the streams flowed freely, and the community thrived. The villagers worked together to maintain the improvements they had made and to support one another in times of need. They remembered the lessons they had learned from the drought and the fire, understanding the importance of helping each other and staying hopeful. Alara's acts of kindness had become a part of the village's legacy. Her quiet generosity and the magic of the feather had shown the villagers that even in the face of great challenges, hope and compassion could make a significant difference. The story of the golden feather and Alara's bravery was often shared among the villagers, serving as a reminder of the power of kindness and the strength of community. Alara continued to live a humble life, dedicating herself to helping others in whatever way she could. Though she never sought recognition, her actions had made a lasting impact on the village. She found joy in seeing her community thrive and in knowing that her efforts had contributed to their well-being. Years later, the village remained a place of warmth and togetherness. The memory of the golden feather and the miracles it had brought were cherished, but it was the spirit of kindness and cooperation that had become the true heart of the village. The story of Alara's selflessness had inspired generations, and the community continued to honor her legacy by living out the values she had embodied. Alara's journey had taught the villagers that true magic lies not in enchanted objects, but in the goodness of one's heart and the strength found in working together. The village had learned to face challenges with courage and compassion, knowing that even the smallest acts of kindness could create ripples of positive change. As the sun set over the village, casting a golden hue over the fields and homes, Alara looked out with a contented heart. She knew that her story had become a part of the village's history, a testament to the enduring power of kindness and the belief that, with hope and unity, any challenge could be overcome. The story ends here.
If you're interested in hearing the beautiful story of a woman who struggled to find love and how she finally met her life partner, click the video here or follow the link in the description.